The Hell Ion spire hung above Arson Prime like an impossible blade, its obsidian hull splitting the red dwarf's glow into scattered beams that flickered over the ship approaching it. Commander Lyra Hale stood at the viewport of the Earth cruiser Resolute, watching the megastructure swell into view. To the untrained eye it looked silent, ceremonial, grand. She knew better. Today's tribunal was not a debate, it was a spectacle crafted to humiliate her species. Docking corridor engaging, the pilot announced. Lyra didn't respond. Her breathing stayed steady, slow, controlled. Silence had always served her better than any speech. The fewer words she used, the sharper they became. The hatch opened with a chime, releasing her into a tunnel of polished silver. 2 alien escorts waited, tall, insectoid Sithrax whose jointed limbs clicked in restless agitation. Neither greeted her. They stepped aside as if avoiding contamination. Lyra walked between them without a glance. Whispers drifted from passing dignitaries. Human delegate. Last survivor of the Purge fleet. Fragile bloodline, unstable mind. She kept walking, spine straight, eyes forward. Let them talk. Noise could not break her. It never had. The council chamber doors towered above her, carved from a single slab of meteor calcite that shimmered faintly under the chamber's starfield lights. As they opened, a wave of heat and sound washed over her. The amphitheater was colossal. Hundreds of alien species occupied ascending tiers of anti-grav platforms arranged in a perfect spiral around a single circular stage. Holographic orbs floated in the air, cycling through distorted depictions of Earth's history, ancient wars, nuclear explosions, conflicts presented without context. Only destruction, meant to reinforce the Council's message. Humanity is violent. Humanity is dangerous. Humanity must be contained. At the highest platform sat Archon Verric Saluin, his elongated form wrapped in ceremonial crimson fibers. His 4 eyes glowed with satisfaction as he leaned forward over the edge. Commander Lyra Hale, he announced, amplifying his voice through the chamber. Representative of Earth. Participant in the unsanctioned Graviton experiments. Survivor of a species that repeatedly threatens galactic order. Lyra stepped onto the central stage. Her boots echoed once. Then silence. Verric continued, humanity stands accused of systemic instability, reckless technological advancement, and unpredictable aggression. Today, before all species assembled, you will answer for your world. Lyra kept her hands at her sides. She did not bow. She did not kneel. Her gaze met Verric's with measured calm. A ripple of offended murmurs spread across the platforms. One counselor hissed, "She refuses deference." Another muttered, "Typical human arrogance." Verric's voice sharpened. "Commander Hale, kneel before the council and acknowledge your species' faults." Lyra spoke for the first time. "No." A single syllable, delivered with such steady composure that the room froze. Verric's lip curled. "You defy the highest authority in the galaxy?" "I stand," she replied, "as my people stand." Several species erupted in outrage. The chamber pulsed with accusation. "She insults us. Remove her. Humans cannot be reasoned with." Lyra waited. She let their noise burn itself out. When the uproar thinned, Verric gestured toward the hovering holograms. "Earth's own history condemns it," he declared. "Look at the violence your species breeds. Look at the chaos you unleash, and still you claim the right to represent yourselves among civilized nations?" The orbs flickered through curated scenes of devastation. Lyra watched them without blinking. The council had cut context, ignored progress, erased acts of unity. They wanted a monster. They sculpted one. Verric leaned back, savoring the moment. "Do you deny your species as a threat?" Lyra lifted her chin slightly. "Before I respond, I request 11 uninterrupted seconds to present evidence." The chamber burst into laughter. 11 seconds? Humans believe they can justify themselves in scraps of time? She seeks to stall. Verrick allowed the mockery to swell before raising a hand for silence. Why 11, Commander? Why not an hour? Why not a day? Because, she said simply, 11 is enough. Something in her tone, unforced, unshaken, made several delegates shift uncomfortably. Verrick frowned. Very well. You will have your seconds. Use them wisely. Lyra reached into the pocket of her diplomatic coat and withdrew a small metallic cube, no larger than her palm. Its surface shimmered with encoded fractal patterns. Verrick sneered. A recording? Another human plea? It's a record, Lyra corrected softly, of truth. She pressed her thumb to its surface. A pulse of blue light erupted from the cube, expanding into a spherical holographic field above the council stage. Inside the projection, lines of text scrolled rapidly, classified council transmissions, sealed orders, private strategy memos. The chamber fell silent. A voice crackled through the audio feed, distorted at first, then unmistakably clear. Verrick's voice. Authorize the purge. Humanity is a statistical anomaly. Eliminate the risk before it adapts again. Gasps scattered through the tiers. Verrick's eyes widened, then narrowed into slits. Fabrication. Lyra didn't argue. She played the next clip. Another council member's voice. If Earth survives, they will outpace us. End them before they evolve further. Shock rippled outward. Delegates shifted away from Verrick's platform as if the accusations might contaminate them. Where did you obtain this? Verrick demanded. Lyra held his gaze. From your Purge fleet's command ship. You left survivors. Verrick slammed a fist against his platform. Deactivate that device. Guards at the chamber's perimeter hesitated, glancing between Verrick and the human on stage. Lyra didn't move. Her poise alone kept half the room frozen. One guard stepped forward. Archon, these readings, there is gravitational distortion emanating from the device. The chamber stilled again. Lyra allowed the cube to hover from her palm. It rose slowly, held not by technology but by an unseen shift in gravitational alignment. The hologram flickered but stayed intact, looping through every transmission of the Purge order. No one laughed now. She spoke calmly, each word angled with precision. Humanity did not start the Purge. We survived it. We evolved. We warned you. You chose silence. Today, we end yours. Verrick leaned forward, shaken but defiant. You presume that revealing this changes anything? You presume the galaxy fears your species? Lyra studied him with unblinking stillness. No. I presume nothing. But I know this, Earth will not kneel. Not to you. Not to anyone. Her voice carried through the chamber, steady as a metronome, unhurried and devastating. The cube floated higher, its glow deepening into a cold cerulean. Verrick attempted one final retort, but the words dissolved into murmurs of panic rising from every tear as one realization spread. Humanity was no longer the species the Council believed it could corner. The chamber lights dimmed as the cube's projection expanded, illuminating every face. Lyra stepped back, letting the truth speak for itself. And the galaxy fell silent. The holographic sphere hovering above Lyra expanded until it filled nearly half the council chamber. Every delegate could see their own reflection warped across the shifting blue surface. Verrick's face appeared again in the projection, cold, composed, merciless. His recorded voice echoed through the chamber like a verdict delivered by a man who believed his word was law. Proceed with eradication. If Earth adapts further, containment becomes impossible. Shock settled over the room like falling frost. Lyra watched the delegates' reactions with exact precision. Some recoiled. Others whispered frantically to their aides. A few stared at Verrick with an expression that teetered between disbelief and betrayal. Verrick slammed a clawed hand against his podium. Shut it down. Guards, seize her and confiscate that device. 2 armored enforcers leapt from their positions along the chamber's perimeter. Lyra did not move. She kept her gaze fixed on Verrick as the guards approached. Their boots thudded across the platform while the hologram continued cycling through confidential transmissions. One guard hesitated mid-step. Archon, gravitational interference is growing. The device isn't standard technology. The second guard's visor dimmed as readings scrolled across his display. Sir, if we touch it without neutralization. Verrick snapped, seize her. The guards advanced again, but their hesitation had cost them authority. The room sensed it. Delegates shifted, uncertain whether the Archon's order was still safe to obey. Lyra lifted her hand slightly, not in threat, but in acknowledgement of their presence. Stop. The word was soft, barely above a breath, yet it cut through the chamber like a blade. Both guards froze, caught between instinct and command. Lyra stepped toward them with unwavering calm. You don't want to touch this object. Its field is unstable. One guard swallowed. Unstable how? Unstable enough that the Council attempted to destroy every prototype it discovered during the Purge. She paused. Unstable enough that I survived because they failed. The guards stepped back without further instruction. Verrick's face twisted. How dare you threaten my officers? I stated a fact, Lyra said. Your decisions threaten them. Not me. A ripple of murmurs circled the room. Verrick's authority was eroding with each breath. Lyra turned slightly, allowing the hologram to continue without interruption. It shifted to a council meeting recorded months earlier, 7 high-ranking species debating humanity's fate behind closed doors. The words struck harder than any weapon. They evolve too quickly. Their unpredictability is dangerous. We cannot allow another anomaly. A final voice, laced with quiet certainty. Eliminate them before they become unstoppable. For several seconds the chamber remained utterly still. Then a delegate from the Jarathi collective rose from his platform. Archon Saluan, were we aware of these orders? Verrick stiffened. These files are manipulated. The human tries to fracture our unity. Lyra didn't look at him. Would you like to authenticate the signatures? Every encryption key is intact. Another delegate, this one from the avian Serithi, stood abruptly. Archon, you assured us Earth initiated aggression. I did what was necessary for the preservation of the galaxy. Verrick shouted. Humans are a threat to all order. Lyra spoke before the uproar ignited again. Fear is not order. Her voice remained controlled, steady. Fear is what you use to justify the eradication of 8 billion lives. Gasps broke through the rows. Even those who despised humanity shifted at the accusation's weight. The hologram dimmed suddenly as the cube drifted higher, rotating slowly in midair. The air hummed with a subtle distortion, barely noticeable but undeniable. A few delegates grasped their seats as their balance faltered. One whispered, the gravitational field, something is bending. Lyra watched the cube turn, its core pulsing like a slow heartbeat. This device is not human-made. It belonged to your Purge fleet. You built it to weaponize gravity. You failed to stabilize it. We succeeded. That statement cracked the silence cleanly. Verrick surged to his feet. Blasphemy. No species controls gravity. Not even the Itrans mastered it. They didn't, Lyra said. We did. The chamber erupted. Voices clashed in frantic disbelief. She lies. No, look at the readings. If humans can manipulate gravity, what does that mean for the balance of power? One delegate whispered, trembling, it means the universe has changed. Verrick pounded the podium again. Guards. Restrain her. But no one moved. Lyra did not smile, she rarely wasted expression. Instead, she exhaled once and allowed the cube to drop from its hover. It fell an inch, then froze midair, suspended by an invisible force. Several delegates gasped. The cube rose again, then circled her like a slow, controlled satellite. The gravitational shift pressed faintly against the chamber's air, subtle yet impossible to ignore. This is the power you feared, Lyra said quietly. This is the potential you tried to extinguish. Varric's voice frayed. You threaten the galaxy with this abomination? No. Lyra stepped beneath the floating cube. I show you why your purge failed. The cube descended into her waiting hand as smoothly as if guided by thought alone. Its glow dimmed to a calm pulse. She looked up at Varric. Humanity doesn't seek domination. We seek survival. Your council forced us into a corner. We adapted. That is our nature. That is our strength. Varric's eyes blazed. You expect us to believe humans will restrain such power? I expect nothing from you. Lyra's answer was simple, direct. Belief isn't required. Only truth. A deep tremor rippled through the chamber, not from the cube, but from the collective realizations settling into the delegates' minds. They had not merely underestimated Earth, they had provoked a species capable of mastering the one force that bound the stars. The Cerethi delegate leaned forward. Commander, what does Earth intend now? Lyra studied him. We intend transparency. We intend sovereignty. And we intend that no world, human or otherwise, suffers a purge again. A murmur of unease spread. The chamber was no longer united under Varric's authority, it splintered into factions, each wrestling with fear, guilt, or a dawning desire to ally with the very species they tried to erase. Varric slammed both fists down. You dare dictate terms to the council? I state terms, Lyra corrected. Whether you accept them is irrelevant. The cube pulsed once more, brighter this time, casting sharp blue reflections across the delegates' faces. Varric leaned over the rail of his platform. You leave me no choice. By council decree, Earth is hereby placed under. Lyra cut him off with a single word. Enough. The cube hummed. Gravity wavered. Delegates gripped their platforms as the air thickened for a heartbeat, then eased. She lowered her hand. The truth has spoken. Your decree holds no weight. Her statement settled over the chamber with a finality that Varric could not counter. For the first time in his long rule, he said nothing. Lyra stepped back as the hologram faded. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't gesture for effect. She simply stood with the full gravity of truth surrounding her. And the galaxy realized the trial had turned into something entirely different. Not humanity judged, but the council exposed. Chaos rippled through the council chamber as the last fragments of the hologram dissolved. Delegates argued in overlapping tones, fear, anger, disbelief, and something else rising beneath it all, the sudden awareness that Varric no longer held control. The Archon stood rigid at his podium, breath sharp, eyes burning with a fury that felt more like desperation than power. Lyra remained centered on the stage, her posture steady. She allowed the room's uproar to crest, sensing the shift in the air as competing factions fractured the once unified authority. No one waited for Varric's command now. No one shielded him. A metallic chime cut through the din as Varric activated his personal console. His voice rang out over the chamber, strained yet vicious. Orbital command, prepare targeting arrays. Lock onto the human cruiser Resolute. Await firing coordinates. The response crackled faintly, uncertain. Archon, repeat confirmation. Firing on a diplomatic vessel violates. Do it. Varric snapped. Humanity must be contained before they destabilize the galaxy. Lyra didn't move. Her gaze drifted toward the chamber's vaulted ceiling where thin silver veins traced the spire's structural lattice. She sensed it, the subtle distortion humming through the station's infrastructure. The Resolute was not in danger. She had prepared for this exact moment. A soft tone emanated from her wrist console. Earth's AI interface whispered through a private audio channel, Archon's override codes disabled. Orbital cannons offline. Defensive veil intact. Lyra lowered her wrist. Acknowledged. Varric, unaware, continued shouting orders. When no response came, panic flickered through his eyes. Command. Do you hear me? Fire. Silence answered. Delegates leaned forward, their attention shifting from Lyra to the Archon with a collective realization. His power had collapsed. His commands held no weight. For the first time in decades, Verrick stood alone. Lyra stepped toward the center of the platform. The movement was small, but every delegate felt it. The air around her thickened with a faint gravitational pressure, subtle, controlled, deliberate. "Archon," she said, her voice steady, "you attempted to erase my world. Now you attempt to execute its representatives. Your authority ends here." Verrick's claws scraped the podium. "You think you can threaten the Spire? You think your species' trickery intimidates us?" Lyra didn't answer immediately. Instead, she raised her hand slightly, fingers relaxed. It was not a gesture of attack, it was a demonstration of potential. A low hum vibrated through the chamber. The floors quivered. The anti-grav platforms dipped, then steadied. Delegates clutched rails as the gravitational field shifted, weight rising, falling, then settling into a strange, suspended equilibrium. 3 seconds. That was all she allowed. 3 seconds of weightlessness. Paper-thin silence followed as gravity returned, precise as a restored heartbeat. No one fell. Nothing broke. Yet the change resonated through the chamber like an unspoken verdict. Verrick staggered but caught himself. "You dare manipulate the Spire's core systems?" "I touched nothing," Lyra replied. "I adjusted only local gravity. The station remains intact." The room stared at her as if seeing her for the first time. One delegate whispered, "She controlled a field that spans half a kilometer." Another murmured, "This is beyond technology." A third said nothing, he simply sank to his seat, stunned. Lyra stepped closer to Verrick's platform. "The truth remains simple. You authorized genocide. You concealed it. And when confronted, you chose escalation instead of accountability." His breath grew ragged. "If humanity controls gravity, what stops you from tearing apart the galaxy?" "We do," she said quietly. "Because we choose restraint." The statement struck harder than any display of force. Some delegates lowered their eyes. Others straightened, reassessing. The galaxy had always feared human unpredictability, now it faced something far more unsettling, human discipline. A crystalline chime echoed through the chamber as the Surethi delegate activated his platform's override. "I call an emergency vote for removal of Archon Verrick Saluan on grounds of abuse of power, violation of interstellar law, and endangerment of all represented species." Platforms lit across the spiral tiers. One by one, delegates cast their votes. Blue for removal. Red for retention. The chamber filled with a constellation of cold blue. Verrick's eyes widened as his podium dimmed, severing his authority. "You cannot do this. I am the Archon of the Galactic." His words cut off as two enforcers, now answering the council rather than Verrick, stepped to his side. "Archon Saluan," the senior guard said, "you are relieved of command and placed under full tribunal review." Verrick pointed at Lyra with a trembling claw. "This human has corrupted you all. She threatens everything." "No," the Surethi delegate replied. "You did." The enforcers escorted Verrick from the chamber. His protests echoed briefly, then faded into the vast corridors beyond. Lyra watched without triumph. Justice was not victory. Survival was not dominance. Humanity had lived long enough under others' assumptions. Now, for the first time, the galaxy listened without trying to define them. The Surethi delegate addressed her. "Commander Hale, the Council acknowledges Earth's sovereignty. Further actions against your species are suspended pending new diplomatic agreements." Lyra nodded once. "We accept." Another delegate, wary but sincere, leaned in. "What will humanity do now?" "Return home," Lyra said. "Rebuild. Continue our research. And ensure no world suffers a purge again." The chamber absorbed her words with a mix of awe and apprehension. One young representative from a minor world asked softly, "Commander, what should the galaxy understand about your people? Lyra considered her answer carefully. She let the silence settle first, not heavy, not hostile, simply present. Then she spoke with quiet clarity. That we don't seek war. We don't seek control. We seek only the right to exist. When threatened, we adapt. When cornered, we rise. And when we stand, truly stand, we do not need to shout to be heard. With that, she deactivated the cube. Its glow faded, folding into her palm like a star returning to darkness. The chamber, still hushed, watched her step back toward the exit corridor. No guards approached. No voices challenged her. No species dared laugh. The spire, once a monument of intimidation, now felt like a vast hollow shell. Its grandeur remained, but its certainty had shattered. Lyra reached the threshold of the chamber. Before leaving, she spoke one final sentence without turning back. Earth has spoken. The doors slid shut behind her with a resonant thrum. Beyond them, the galaxy remained silent. Lyra walked through the Hell Ion Spire's main transit corridor, the echo of her footsteps carried by the chamber's polished metal floor. The political storm she had unleashed still whispered across the spire, delegate voices murmuring in startled tones, aides scrambling to rewrite diplomatic protocols, security teams recalibrating their loyalties. The galaxy had changed in a single day, and everyone could feel it. Yet Lyra's stride remained steady, her posture level. The gravity field that lingered around her, barely perceptible, like a second skin, responded to her breathing, adjusting in subtle waves. It was not a display of power, it was a reminder to herself of the discipline required to hold it. As she approached the docking bay, a group of engineers and attendants stepped aside in synchronized caution. Their bodies leaned subtly away from her, unsure of how close was safe. One mustered the courage to speak. "Commander Hale, is it true?" Lyra paused. "What did you hear?" "That the Archon fell. That the Council nearly lost control of the station. That humans can." He hesitated, trying to shape fear into something respectful. "Bend the laws of the universe." Lyra's reply was careful. "We understand them differently now. That's all." The engineer nodded, unsure whether he believed her or simply needed to. She resumed walking. Her wrist console chimed. Earth's diplomatic AI, Echo, spoke with calm neutrality. "Commander, the Resolute awaits departure clearance. Orbital cannons remain offline. No immediate threats detectable." "Monitor quietly," she replied. "Always," Echo said. As Lyra reached the final security threshold, the bay doors parted, revealing the Resolute bathed in golden docking lights. The ship's sleek hull reflected the spire's architecture and fractured patterns, as though the station itself were contemplating its own distorted future. Before entering, Lyra sensed movement behind her. A soft voice said, "Commander Hale, may I speak with you?" She turned to see the Cerethi delegate, the one who initiated Varric's removal, standing at the corridor's edge. His feathers were sleek, his posture dignified despite the visible tremor in his wings. Lyra inclined her head. "You helped prevent escalation." "I helped correct a failing," he said. "And I fear more remain." Lyra waited for him to continue. He approached but kept a respectful distance. "Many worlds respect your restraint today. Others fear your capabilities. Both emotions will reshape galactic policy." "Fear can provoke conflict," Lyra said. "It can," he agreed. "Which is why I ask, what does Earth intend to do with this new position?" Lyra chose her words with precision. "We will protect our home. We will rebuild our alliances. We will not attack unless threatened. We will not intervene unless asked." The Cerethi studied her expression for deception and found none. If Varric had succeeded today. "He didn't," Lyra said softly. "Because you made sure he couldn't." Lyra met his gaze. "Power isn't control. Power is choice. Humanity chooses survival, not conquest." The Cerethi bowed gently. "Then may the stars guide us toward peace." He stepped back, signaling the end of the exchange. Lyra returned the nod and continued toward her ship. Inside the Resolute, the dim blue lighting washed over the command deck. Officers rose as she entered, their movements crisp but relieved. She didn't need to ask if they'd monitored the tribunal, every face reflected the weight of what had unfolded. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Rourke, approached. "Commander, are we cleared for departure?" "Almost," Lyra said. "Status of external comms?" Rourke pulled up a display. "Every major faction has pinged for diplomatic contact. Some want guarantees. Some want alliances. A few want explanations." Lyra absorbed this without blinking. "Prepare responses. No promises. No threats. Only transparency." "Yes, Commander." She took her seat at the center console, the Graviton control interface sliding beneath her palm. The soft hum beneath the deck synchronized with her pulse, a reminder of the responsibility she carried and the consequences of misusing it. Echo's voice returned. "Commander, a final transmission from the Spire requests your attention." "Route it." A hologram shimmered above the console. To Lyra's surprise, it was not a delegate. It was an unassuming figure, a young Draylen technician who had served on the tribunal's support staff. His voice trembled. "Commander, thank you." Lyra blinked once. "For what?" "For surviving," he said. "For showing them we were wrong about your people. My world supported the Purge. We believed humanity dangerous. Today, I saw something different." Lyra's reply was steady. "Dangerous is not the same as violent. Strong is not the same as cruel." The Draylen bowed his head. "Travel safely, Commander." The hologram faded. Rourke turned to her. "They're afraid, Lyra. Afraid and hopeful." Lyra exhaled slowly. "That's a volatile mix. Do we need to prepare for retaliation?" "Not now," she said. "Today they saw what we can do. What matters next is showing what we choose not to do." Rourke nodded. "Understood." The bridge settled into a focused quiet as the Resolute disengaged from the docking clamps. The hull trembled lightly as thrusters powered up, aligning the ship for departure. The Council spire receded behind them, a monument rendered smaller, almost fragile, against the expanse of space. Lyra watched it through the forward viewport. "Echo, open a private log." "Ready," the AI replied. She spoke quietly. "Entry, humanity's future will not be decided by fear. We survived because we adapted. We adapted because we were forced to. If the galaxy challenges us again, we will rise again. But today, restraint is our greatest strength." "Log saved," Echo said. The stars drifted slowly across the viewport as the Resolute took its final bearing toward the Sol system. Rourke asked, "Commander, what do you think the Council will do now?" Lyra considered the question. "They'll debate. Argue. Reevaluate alliances. Investigate Vuric. Some will prepare defenses. Some will send envoys. But none of them will underestimate humanity again." "What about us?" Lyra turned her gaze toward the distant point where Earth waited, small from this distance, but strong in every way that mattered. "We rebuild," she said. "We reclaim what we lost. And we make sure no one ever decides our fate without us." The bridge grew quiet. Not out of fear, out of resolve. Lyra rested her hand on the console, feeling the Graviton field respond to her touch. The motion was smooth, effortless. Controlled. "Helm," she commanded, "take us home." The stars elongated as the ship slipped into faster-than-light transit. The Hellion spire vanished behind them. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy aligned itself, not away from Earth, not against it, but toward it. Following the silence that humanity had finally, and undeniably, earned.